Hello friends, it's been a while since I've done a gratitude video. I'm going to scooch it a little closer. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I've got some stuff boiling, so I'm kind of making some popping noises. I just wanted to share some wonderful blessings that I received today. It was just an abundant day. I thought it was going to be a sad day because my youngest daughter, Princess 5, moved to college again. She returned home from a mission as a missionary in New Jersey during COVID. She did finish her mission, but then with that, she couldn't work for the summer. The jobs that we were going to get her were canceled. And so she stayed home with me, and it's the longest I've had a kid live with me in years, and lots of years. So it was kind of fun to have her home, but she left this morning. And as I packed her car, she's moving to university. She graduated with a 2-year degree and then served as a missionary. Now she's going back to finish her bachelor's. And the two things that she needed before she left were an HDMI cord. She ended up taking mine because I couldn't find one. So I went to a secondhand store and found this morning that I found in the package USB for $3. So I let her take mine and I just replaced mine with that. And then also, she needed a shower tote and they had one with the label still on it for $1. So I thought that was awesome that she got the two things she needed as she was literally driving out of town. And right as she was leaving town, I got a text from our local food bank. I'm on the board of directors for our local food bank, and whenever they have overages that they can't give out, so they don't have, it's not open Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, so they will call me and say, hey, can you distribute some food? Because it won't fit in our fridge and our freezers are full and we need to get them gone. So when she texted me, it was about grapes. She said, we have a pallet of grapes. Now, when I say a pallet, normal pallets are about here on me, you know. The pallet, I was standing, I'm 5'9", and I was standing with my arms as high up as they could be, and I barely could put my fingers over the top of these stacked pallets. I've never seen a pallet stacked so high, and it was full, very full, all the way around. And so there was so many grapes, there's no way. The truck came last night, and there's no way they could have distributed them all. They knew they were coming. They got called by the state food bank a week ago. So they were expecting to get some grapes, but then they came on Thursday or Wednesday night, and then so they only had today to give them out, and we just don't have that many clientele. It's a small town. So I ended up having Princess 5 follow me to the food bank, and we were able to get her some snacks that she could take to college. Since she was moving in, she wouldn't have any groceries because it's a long drive, and she couldn't pack food. There's no point. She's going to have to go buy it up there. It's cheaper to not have it in the car. So I was able to give her a big container of grapes and washed them for her there, and she was able to eat them on the way up, and then tons of snacks. They had all sorts of snack chips and things that she was able to take. So I was very grateful for that. And while I was there, they said the freezer's full, and so it's so full that they ordered an external fridge truck, which is $300 a week to have in the parking lot, and plus electricity on top of that. And so I was like, we've got to get some of the food out of the freezer because it's not cost effective to pay that kind of money for the external freezer when we have a walk-in freezer that's just disorganized. So I asked if there was any older meat we could get out of there, and so we could organize it so we didn't have the external truck. So they had me deliver. They had cases of a pallet full of cases. Now, when I say pallet, once again, we're talking my shoulder height. That's usually what a pallet is stacked to, and it was stacked to my height, my shoulder height. Actually, maybe a little bit higher, one layer higher than that. So almost as tall as me. And I can get those off if it's as tall as me, but when it's tall as my arms, I can't lift them over the head. And so I was like, and they were at the back, and there was a little alley to go through walk-in freezer. And so each one I had to twist and walk and carry it sideways to get them out. But they had a pallet full of these pre-made Donley Farms sausage patties. Now, I don't normally like sausage because it usually has wheat in it, but these didn't look like they did, and I don't eat it anyway. I don't digest pork very well, but each box had 20 of these bags in it, and we gave out, let's see, I had my sister come down and help me take some. She lives in another small town a little ways away, so she filled up the back of her large SUV with cases of the meat and flats of the grapes, and so she took about 8, 10, let's see, probably 6, 12 cases of the sausage patties and at least 20 flats of grapes, and she started distributing them. So I started about 11 o'clock this morning, filling up my car, distributing it, going back, filling up my car, distributing it, going back, filling my car, and distributing it. So I was literally gone from my home, working straight from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the food bank. And when I walked into the freezer for the first time, and I walked back and I turn and look at the pallets of sausage meat, the highest one was like right in front of me. Like I said, it was about this high. And the numbers I saw were 111. Now, I've explained on my blog and probably a video on here why 111 is significant to me. It's usually when God is letting me know that I'm doing something that he likes. It's a good, like, hey, you're doing okay kind of a thing, or you can make it when I'm stressed. So I usually see it at those 2 times. And I haven't seen it a ton lately, but in the last couple of days, I started seeing it again. And I just kind of chuckled. In fact, I think I took a picture. I'm sure I did, now that I think about it. I took a picture because I thought it was so funny that the first thing I see when I'm hauling this is, there we go. And I thought, that is so funny. It was right in front of me at one of the tall boxes. So I took a picture because I'm like, oh, the funny thing. I very barely walk in and I'm filling up my car with these, and the first thing I see is the 111. So I text my sister back and forth, and at 11:11 she texts me that she's can come over. And so I was like, oh, 11:11, I got a text. So I fill up my car and I take off driving, and I'm stopping places and delivering it. And there's one lady, I mentioned her on my blog quite a bit, Julie, and I just love her so much. Her family is so good to me. We've been friends. They were the first people that walked over when we moved here up to me when I attended church for the first time and introduced herself. The very first person. And I thought, oh, I like her. And we didn't get close for a couple of years. And then we were assigned to visit some sisters in our congregation together. And we've been steadfast friends ever since. And she's done so much charity for our family. She crocheted all my kids' Afghans, and she is very service oriented. She does a lot of service that way. So she's actually donated a ton of hats and scarves and things that she's made to the food bank. And so she's just a very sweet person. So I pull up to her house. I had called her ahead of time and said, hey, can you make some phone calls for me and see if these certain people would like some of them? Because it's really hard for me to drive, deliver them, talk to people, and actually call people and find out if they're home or if they want what I'm distributing. Because sometimes people can't eat it. And so I usually call them, and it's an all-day thing. Whenever I do this, the food bank has extra. It literally takes me all day, and my gas tank is empty by the time I'm done because I leave the air conditioning on because it's freezer goods, or usually it's perishables. So my air conditioning's on, the car is full, and I usually take 2 or 3 trips and fit as many as I can until it's distributed, because it will go bad, and I don't want it to go bad. And we had so many grapes. So I walk into her house. And she's the only person I would walk into her house at because I'm worried about COVID. And I had my mask on. I wore it all day. And it's hot. It's really hot. And I'm beet red. And I carry it into her house. And she's making these calls for me. And I drop it off on her counter, and I turn around, and her stove is right in front of me. And she reads my blog, and she knows 111 is kind of a significant number for me. And I started laughing. She said, what? And I said, your stove says 111. So it was funny. It took me all the time to distribute and everything and get to her. So it was 111 when I dropped them off at Julie's house. So I thought that was pretty funny. So as the day goes, I got some cards in the past few was my birthday, and with Princess 5 getting ready to leave, I didn't open them, and it was just a stressful time, and I had actually even forgotten about some of the cards. And so I opened up a card from my sister from California, and she had sent me $20. So I have $20, and I thought that was really sweet. Typically, I don't usually get money or cards from my family. They just usually give me a call and will sing to me. That's just, we have 8 kids, and so in our family, and so it's usually just a phone call, or I'll get some emails, and I did get some texts. So that's usually how we communicate for birthdays. So I thought it was really sweet that she sent me a card. And Julie said, I know we can't take you to lunch, COVID and everything. So they gave me $40 and said, consider yourself taken to lunch. Because with COVID, I couldn't go out. I can't eat a lot of foods anyway. So to go out to a restaurant, I typically don't, because there's hardly anything I can eat. And so they just gave me the money and said, treat yourself to a lunch. She told me to buy sushi because she knows I love sushi. She's like, treat yourself to some sushi for me. So I thought that was sweet. So I ended up with $40 from them. And then I continued to distribute, and I kept calling different people and everything. I also take it to a thrift store in town where they train people who learn how to work, who might have a hard time getting a job. They train them how to interact with people. And so a lot of them could need some food. And so I stopped at the secondhand store, and they don't normally let people drop things off, because currently with COVID, they don't allow donations unless you schedule it and things like that. So I talked to the manager, and they're really good friends of mine. I shop there all the time. And so I went to the back, and I just dumped off all this food for the people that work there. So I was able to do that. I contacted the lady who's in charge of, we have women in our church that do, it's called a relief society, and they go do service and help people who might be in need. And so I contacted her and 2 other women in other congregations that are the relief society president of that organization. And they came down, and I met them down for the 3rd trip to fill up their cars with the grapes, because they needed to be used. So they were going to distribute it. Some of them were going to freeze them. Some of them were going to juice them. And I never thought about juicing grapes. My sister juices her grapes, but I've never had enough grapes to juice. Usually we eat them, and I don't have grapevines, so I've never made grape juice. So when she said grape juice, I'm like, I have a juicer. I've never used it. I've had it for years. And I thought, I can get 6 flats of these grapes and try and make some juice. I didn't know how much grapes you would need for how many quarts of juice, but my sister makes it all the time. We've loved hers over the years, but I've never done it. So I thought, I'm going to take some extras, and I was there helping them fill their cars. And I'm like, I'm just going to take as much as I can. So I had already cleaned out some stuff out of my car. When I came home, I took out some grapes and put them in the garage, because I had to rush back and meet my sister who was there filling up her car. So I had some grapes at home. I'm like, I'm just going to keep those 6 flats for myself. Well, I ended up giving 2 of them away today, but that's okay, because that's what it's for. But I kept 4 of them, and I thought, I'm just going to try and make some grape juice. So I made my first grape juice today, and it's processed. My sister, when I looked online and talked to people, they were like, oh, you got to boil it in the bath for 60 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And my sister has made it for years, and she's like, you don't need to do that. She gave me a great quick recipe, how to do it, and explained it. And I got out my thing and set it up, and it was great. It is time consuming because the grapes have to boil down for a long time, but that's a different story. I will share that on a different post. But I wanted to share that. So now I have enough grapes to make, let's see, I got 5 quarts out of 6 bunches. So it's just under a quart a bag. So this is going to make just under a quart of grape juice. But I did fill them very full, so I could have gotten 5 quarts out of the grape juice. So I was like, yay. So that was fun. So I got grapes. But when I went back, they had a table where they, when they have extra in the freezer, they let people sign that are coming in as clients, and then they'll give them extra things that they're trying to clear out of the freezer. If they have a ton of stuff, they'll sometimes stick it outside and let just people take it, but they've had a lot of people hoarding and feeding it to their pigs and things like that lately, so they've started doing it this other way. So when I came back, they were giving out cases of these individual DiGiorno individual pizzas, and my daughter is moving home. My fourth daughter just graduated with her bachelor's, and she's moving home for a couple of months to learn a few things. She wants to learn how to sew and crochet and knit and things that she learned a little bit before, but she's looking for a job. She had 2 job offers, but she decided they weren't quite what she wanted. So she's like, can I move home for a few months? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. So I got a case of those, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I went back. That's awesome. Then they also went in the freezer. Oh, I was going to grab it. They had barbecued pork patties, 2 5-pound bags, and 2 bags of finely shredded mozzarella cheese. And a couple of months, maybe 3 weeks ago, I delivered 3 or 4 carloads of these taco meat. And in the box is taco meat and pre-made taco mix and 2 bags of large shredded mozzarella. So I have probably 10 bags of 5-pound bags of mozzarella in my freezer right now. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to use it for, but I use it for lasagna. So I'm like, I'm going to grab it. That's expensive stuff. So I got one of those cases. I actually gave one of the bags of cheese away to a woman who came who could use it. So I just kept the pork because when I have my kids home, they can throw them in the microwave. So that's the nice thing about these pork patties. So I brought home, I didn't take a whole case because I just don't have that many people that would eat them. But when they come home, I do make hash browns and eggs and leave it in the fridge and bacon, and then they eat it as they want for breakfast because everybody gets it up at a different time. So I did grab some of these and put them in the freezer. But then I grabbed some of the pork patties also to try with the barbecue pork patties. Because I thought the kids could try those. So now I had cleaned up my freezer a couple of months back and gave all my neighbors all the stuff that I couldn't eat out of it. I had a bunch of frozen bread dough, and vegetables that I had frozen, and fruit and stuff that there was so much that I wasn't using it, and I felt like I should share so I gave it to my neighbors, and she was happy to get it. So I had cleaned it out and there was space, and I was like, you know what? It's less cost. It costs more to have an empty freezer. So I was hoping that I could get some more meat in there, but I'm really tight on funds right now. So due to some situations that we won't go into, but so I need to get an attorney to get the funds. So I'm tight on funds, and I didn't want to spend any money on food that I didn't need to. So I've been trying to use the food that I have in my freezer. And I thought, well, it would be nice to fill that freezer, but I don't have the funds. So hopefully the food bank will get something I can put in there so it'll keep it full with foods I can actually eat. Because I had a bunch of things in there like, I donated a ton of stuff to our family reunion. Like I had hot dogs and that taco meat and stuff I couldn't eat. So I just donated a whole day's meals out of my freezer and cleaned it out. So when I went back again this time, they had cases of this cooked chunk turkey breast meat. And I was like, no seasoning, so I can actually eat it. And that's all I eat is chicken and fish. And so, well, not all I eat. That's the only meat I eat is chicken. A little bit of chicken, a little bit of fish each day. And that's the protein, what I eat. And mostly fruits and vegetables is what I actually eat, and rice and beets. So that's really what I eat. Anyway, so I got a case of those the second time I went back. And then the third time I went back, they were clearing out the last 3 cases that they had because people hadn't taken them. They'd been on the table for a minute and they didn't want to put them back in the freezer. So I got 2 cases of this. They've got to be at least 5 pounds. Yeah, 5 pounds of chicken cooked. I don't even have to cook it. I can put it in like a sauce on gluten-free noodles, or I can put it in stir fry. And then when I went back the third time, I noticed in the fridge they had big barrels of, these are my favorite, Armenian cucumbers. Now, I bought an Armenian cucumber plant this spring and it died. And I was so sad because I love these cucumbers. They don't make burp. And they grow long and they're fun and they're so pretty when you cut them. They just look like flowers. And so you stick them on the plate and they're just these cute little florets. And we just eat them with salt and pepper and love them with tomatoes. And I also, my sweet little neighbor that had a garden died. And my other neighbor that used to give us vegetables and had a huge garden to my other side moved. So nobody has given us any vegetables at all. I stole a zucchini off of the give and take thing on the side of the road a couple weeks back, but my neighbors just, nobody has a garden. They're young families, they're busy. Their parents have gardens, so they get what they want from their parents, but they just don't share. So I was so excited to see that they had zucchinis, summer squash, and these Armenian cucumbers. So I they got them donated on Monday. The person donated 4 or 5 huge tubs of them. And they were getting, even though they're in the fridge, they're getting soft. And so they said, take whatever you want. So I told the last group of women that was coming and giving them to their neighbors, the Relief Society presidents, to take all that they wanted. So I gave them each of a box and they filled them up. And I grabbed a box and I filled them up. And then the last carload I donated, that I took around and gave to people, I let them take vegetables. And one of the people that I took last to, my street gets it last because it's close to my house. And I start at the other end of town where the food bank is, and I work my way towards my house. So the last people I went to were my neighbors. And one of the neighbors I went to that was very last was the woman of this man that was our gardener. His name was Niall, and he was the sweetest. He would help me with any woodworking. He was a brilliant woodworker, and he would help me with projects all the time. In fact, we look at the furniture in the house like Niall help me fix that. Oh, Niall help me fix that. And he made us things when I needed things. And he helped with a wishing well that I have a video about how to make a garbage can into a wishing well. And I did a huge 1,000-piece magnetic puzzle of Christ, and he made the frame fit perfectly so that I had a frame of this big picture of Christ in puzzle form that we were using throughout the year for service. And when I was in the Relief Society presidency, and we trade out in the Relief Society, so the same person isn't always, because you can kind of burn out doing that much service all the time. So anyway, she was so grateful because he had a garden every year their whole marriage, and he was in he graduated from agricultural college and went and taught agriculture in South America, a lot of their marriage. And so she loved fruits and vegetables, and she doesn't get them. And I don't garden hardly at all. In fact, I've got 4 tomato plants out there, and out of this whole year, I've gotten 8 grape tomatoes out of all the plants. Nothing is producing back there. I do have butternut squash growing on the vine, but it's the vines and the tomato plants are huge and they're not producing. I probably just didn't prune them early enough. But anyway, so she was grateful for that. So I was like, man, I got a fridge full of vegetables, and I've already eaten half of one of the Armenian cucumbers. I was so good. Because they're my very favorite cucumber, and I don't really like the other cucumbers very much. And then I got a freezer full. So I wanted to show you a picture of my freezer. Now this is a deep freeze, and it's probably 4 or 5 feet long. So where's the picture of that? It is absolutely full to the brim. I can barely close it. There's so much meat and stuff in that freezer. So I had a couple of frozen pizzas from when the girls were here, and then some pita pockets that we were going to take to the lake, and then didn't end up going camping with the reunion. We just went for an afternoon, so I didn't use those, and then some vegetables, and the rest of it is food from the food bank. It is packed. So I couldn't even believe how full my freezer was. So I just over and over and over again, there was just blessings and blessings and blessings. And then I had a girlfriend who wanted to take me to dinner because she's been wanting to take me for a while for my birthday. And I had to cancel a few times and things with getting Princess gone. And so then we were going to go tomorrow night. It changed and it ended up being tonight. And so she took me to dinner, and it was really sweet. We ran into a lady there who I've known, but I haven't really been very close to. But she's just a really sweet lady, and she overheard that it was my birthday at the restaurant. And so she told the waitress she wanted to buy me a dessert. I can't eat any of the desserts because I'm gluten-free, but it meant so much to me that she was willing to do that for me. And then my friend bought me dinner, and she gave me a card. She said she'd been praying about what she could do for me. We do a lot for each other. She's helped with my daughter's wedding reception, and I've gone to visit her family with her in California and helped clean out her dad's house and helped her make a quilt. She's come over and helped me do a yard sale. So she's just really in tune with God, and she follows promptings and nudges from God very often. And I normally don't get cards with money in them. That's just not something that I get. Normally people will give me a bottle of lotion or something if they remember my birthday or whatever. But she gave me a card, and I opened it, and I like mouth dropped. She was taking me to dinner at one of the nicer restaurants in town, and then this was in the card. And I just said, that's way too much. I can't take that. And she said, no, you're taking it because it's from God. She goes, I was going to get you a massage because I know you love massages, which I absolutely do. But she said that God told me that you needed the money more right now with the situation that you're in. And so I was like, you know what? I do. Thank you very much. I'm going to accept it. And I don't normally accept things like that from people. And even this woman that I don't even know very well buying me dessert, the thought that she wanted to, I said, I'll accept it. And then was going to order something. And they said, because I thought it didn't have gluten in it, but apparently their cheesecake has wheat in the cheesecake mix, not just in the crust. I was going to cut the crust off and have a cheesecake, but she found out that there is actually flour in their cheesecake. And so the lady came over and said, I'm sorry, I couldn't buy you dessert. And I was like, no, it's just so sweet of you that you would be willing to do that. So I was like, man, it was my birthday dinner. So she wanted to do it because she knew it was my birthday dinner, but they don't make you show your wallet. So we're good. Anyway. So I got $160 today doing service. And a freezer full of food. And I called my sister who has made grape juice for years. She told me how easy it was to make the grape juice. So I was kind of nervous about it, but it was super easy. And now I have, by the time I'm done, I'll probably have like 10, 15, 20 to 30 quarts of grape juice. Now I don't drink grape juice, but I'm going to try and do some kombucha fermenting. And I was thinking, how am I going to afford the juice stuff and the fruit to mix in? And the Lord provided that for me as well as some of the ingredients. Literally last night I was praying, okay, Lord, I used to drink a large bottle of kombucha every day or two because it's good for my gut health. I can't do dairy very well, so I can't do yogurt to get that normal flora back in there. So last night I was saying, okay, Lord, if you want me to make it, because I've been feeling strongly that I should just make it myself. So I was researching yesterday and the day before how to make my own. And I was like, it doesn't look like that hard, but I don't have the money to purchase those ingredients currently. And so I said to him last night in my prayers, I was like, okay, Lord, if it's really important that I drink this, because I was when I had an income, and now that my income has stopped, I haven't been buying it. And it's been a few months where my income hasn't been coming in. So I just said, if you want me to make this, if it's something I should do, then I need you to provide the ingredients. Well, when I walked into the food bank today with my youngest daughter, the very first item that I saw when I went into the food bank, other than the grapes, which was why we were there, was this ingredient that I needed. And it's like the base ingredient. And I just chuckled and I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to try and make it. And, but then I didn't really think about these other ingredients because you need fruit for flavoring. So some use mango and there's all sorts of flavors. It's just, you need these ingredients for the base and then you just flavor it with these fruits and, or juices. And so I just laughed. I'm like, okay, so now I have 15, 20 quarts of grape juice that I can use to flavor it, as well as the main ingredients to make the kombucha. So the Lord is really mindful of our needs, and it amazes me over and over and over. I thought it should have been a sad day because my baby's leaving for college again and I'll be living alone after, long time. Actually, I found out this week I've got another daughter that's moving in on Saturday, but I was thinking, oh, she's leaving for college. It's going to be weird to be alone again because I've lived by myself for years now, but then it was kind of nice having somebody around to do things with and go on my walks with me and cook for and those kind of things that I haven't done in a long time. Because I don't have to cook for myself. I just eat the same things. So it was kind of nice to have that variety, to be able to cook for her. But so it's kind of, it could have been a real melancholy day for me, but literally I was doing service from the second because she left from the food bank. She took snacks and grapes and drove off to go to college from the food bank. And I did not come home until 5:36, and then I had to clean out my freezer and organize it and put it all in there. I was supposed to go to dinner at 6, and I didn't end up going till 7 because I had to do that and then shower. I was so hot. I had the mask on, hot day, walking to people's doors carrying really heavy. I mean, you think about it, 20 of these in each case. They were heavy, and the flats of grapes had 10 or 12 bags in each flat. It was heavy. And then these 5-pound bags of chicken, the case had probably 8 of these in it. I don't know. They were heavy. So it was a crazy day. But here I could have thought and been sorry for myself. And instead I got to see all my friends and neighbors and talk to people on the phone. And I got texts all day long from people, and starting early in the morning. And I got to talk to all my kids. They were having a reunion. My oldest daughter went to the college town where my youngest was going and visiting 2 of my daughters who live in that town currently, and they all had a reunion at the park, and then they all video chatted, and we all had a really cute video chat. So I got to talk to all of them, and some gifts from my kids came that they bought me. I was looking for a microphone for my camera that will pick up all the sound, so I got this in the mail, and an adapter for my computer that they bought for me. And then I got those sweet little things that my daughter needed for college. I also got a couple of cards that I forgot about. The kids were like, "Hey, did you ever open our card?" I'm like, "Nope. Where is it? No, when did you give it to me?" And they're like, "We don't know where it is. Did we hide it?" And the other one's like, "No, I gave it to you at your computer like 2 weeks ago." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I got cards for my kids today. So it's been just a joyful day, and I just really wanted to share with you that when you think you're going to, and this happens to me all the time, when I think I'm going to do service for other people, I always end up getting more back. And when I trust that the Lord will take care of me and provide my needs, He does. I mean, literally, I was praying last night for this ingredient that I needed, and I was praying, yesterday or this morning, maybe, about my freezer, because I went out there to get some frozen muffins and to send them with my daughter to college, and it was half empty, and I thought, I sure wish I could fill that up. And so it was just these little passing thoughts that I think, and I, say a prayer that, I can get what I need. And Heavenly Father always provides for my needs. Like people say, will you pray to God to heal you from your parasites or your health problems? And He doesn't, so why do you have faith in Him? But I'll tell you, He has provided for my needs. I mean, even financial. Like, I put some stuff on eBay recently, and it wasn't selling. And then after like 2 months, something sold right when I would need that money. So like 2 months ago, I probably didn't need it as much as I do now. And so it's interesting to me how that happens over and over and over in my life. The Lord provides it when I need it, when it's critical that I need it. And the freezer full of food. Now I can feed Princess 4 when she comes home, and we'll have plenty to eat. There's so much food out there, and it's food I can eat. And I got vegetables. I've got a big container of vegetables to make stir fry with the meat that I just got, and so many blessings. And so I felt like I really needed to, and then, these cute things she can just throw in the toaster oven if I haven't cooked. And so many things that He takes care of in my life. I'm just so grateful for God and His mercies that He shares and gives to me when I need Him. The other thing I was a little worried about is Princess 5 has a stick shift car, and she's the one that had a really bad car accident 3 years ago in July. And her car rolled 4 or 5 times before it landed at 200 feet from the highway. And it took her a year to recuperate, but nothing was permanent. So she is a nervous driver anyway. And that was in a dead zone in the mountains, where there's no cell service. And so it was just a blessing how she was rescued. So she's nervous to drive, and she was driving a long way today. It's a long way. We're to her college town, and it's through mountains and valleys and cities, big cities and ghetto cities. And it was a long drive for her. And I was worried with the stick shift car, and she called me halfway, and I'm dripping sweat mask. She can't hear me. I'm delivering food. And she's like, what do I do on stop and go traffic with this stick shift? Because she's didn't have a stick shift until now. So she's very nervous driving this stick shift, and she's only driven it in our small town. And here I send her off to college in a stick shift car with all her crap. Kind of mean of me, but my car doesn't do well and it overheats. And so I don't dare take it over the mountains in the heat. And so I just said, her sisters took up some of her stuff when they went. And so she didn't need me to drive up, which I was grateful for, but I felt really kind of bad having her drive her stick shift up there by herself. And so she calls me, it's stop and go traffic. What do I do? I felt so bad for her. I'm like, well, learn to use that clutch. There's nothing else I can tell you. So she called me and told me she made it safely. And she goes, I only stopped 4 times. I'm like, on the highway? No, she's like, only once on the highway. But the other times 2 of them were in town where she was looking for her sister's address. And the other one was before she got on, I guess. So I was very, very grateful today to the Lord for protecting her driving that stick shift all that way. But so, yeah, that was a good thing, too. It's been a great day. It's been so good. So I just wanted to share that, because we do need good days. And I felt good, and I got a wonderful meal at the restaurant, and just so many good things. So now I'm going to go finish my grape juice and go to bed. Actually, I have to blog still, but I just am grateful, and I hope that you can see the gratitude moments in your life. I know with COVID, it's hard, and with the craziness of life, it can be difficult sometimes, but focus on the positive and the gratitude and just do your best. And that's all we can do is just do our best. So I just wanted to share. Thanks for listening, and I appreciate you watching. And if you like the channel, thumbs it up, subscribe, hit the notifications so you can get notified. I don't post a ton of videos anymore. It's just too time consuming with everything that I've had going on, but I want to get back into it and do some more. I've been trying some new things with my parasite and health videos, so I want to document those, but it's just been a while. I haven't really had time with everything going on. So I'm hoping to get back into doing some more of the health things and letting you know what I've tried and what's working, what's not working. So hopefully I can get back to that. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, and you can type in whatever you're looking for in the bottom of the homepage. There's a search box. Have a blessed day.